Eric's laughing.
We're just talking about which aliens are they creepy aliens. I don't know. It's really good. And we're going to talk to some of the good guys, the tall whites, which we have channeled in the past, which is kind of weird. Y'all can go to the CE YouTube channel and find out more about this. But we have our wonderful Michelle Gray at the Healing H dot. I mean dash. What do I do that for, Michelle? healingh-art.com. And we have our lovely boy Erik Matthews. Hi, sweetie.
He says, "Hi, Mom. I love you."
I love you too. We got a long day today, a lot of time in Marshisha. It's gonna be a
He's
late.
rolling up his sleeves.
Oh god, please make it go faster. Anyway, but that's okay. I'm a work hard horse. All right, so I have questions that are compiled by the wonderful woman Paola Marino, who's from Paola Marino Aqua Marino Productions or Studios. She's the one that's been working on the documentary of our story, and she has a lot of questions here for us. So, in a previous video about the new age of Aquarium, she probably means Aquarius. Uh, you're turning into me, Paula. Erik mentioned at one point that a lot of tall aliens are coming to Earth to save it. In this one video, in this video, we want to go deeper on this topic. Maybe Erik can bring in a tall white alien that is willing to answer our questions. So I don't know, Erik, did we have to bring in a tall white, or that might be a little bit too much for Michelle? What do you want to do?
No, he says there's one here. So
Okay.
he's showing me, he's like opening the door and going like this. Come on in.
Select door number 3, 1, 2, or 3. Hello, Mr. Tall White Alien or Mrs. Tall. Are you female or male or?
Here's the name. I'm actually getting a name right away, and I'm
Wow.
gonna say he because he is coming through more of a masculine energy, but he's acknowledging that there's not really some of us do carry more of a masculine and feminine energy, but they're quite balanced beings.
Oh, okay.
And so he's calling himself Adrian.
Adrian, I love that, Adrian. All right. So, would you mind answering some questions to enlighten us meager Earthlings?
Oh, not at all. He's very happy to do so. And he's communicated with Erik before. He
Oh,
says that Erik has brought him through in other sessions with
okay.
other mediums and to other people. And so he's like a spokesperson.
Oh, cool. I did not know that. Well, thank you for being a wonderful spokesperson. First question, Adrian, how are the tall white aliens coming to Earth? Maybe there's more than one way.
There is more than one way. He says that we have different capacities. It depends on what it is that we are doing. There's a lot of observation that's taking place. And so one of the most common ways, he says, is through consciousness, is traveling. He's calling it like interdimensional consciousness and connecting into, he calls it collective cells within the earth. And so this has to do with different levels of consciousness.
So they project their consciousness into collection of cellular the consciousness of all cells, or can you?
He's saying like cells as in he's showing it like as groups. So consciousness of the earth. He's even saying nature, human consciousness, plant matter. He says that everything is going through an evolution right now. And so they have interest in all. And because Earth itself has its own consciousness and its own shift that is occurring, they're like they're mediating, observing, and they said assisting. And he says that there's more assistance that they're able to do now, and particularly over these last few weeks, that there has been a huge shift in consciousness. And we're going to notice things, maybe not as a whole wide collective, like one big event, but we are going to be noticing things individually and in some larger collectives, like in some areas in human life. So he's saying like the nature, forces of nature, things that are changing. But he also says in our own consciousness expansion, our own experiences, he says that there are a lot of human beings. He first said beings, and then he said human beings that are awakening. And he says that we have hit a mass speed.
Okay, what do you mean? What will we notice? You said we would notice things in nature, for example.
Starting to notice things that are changing, such as plants that may bloom differently. He says, so as individuals, you may see a plant in your garden that has blooms that you've not seen before. You may see your trees start to change, grow a different color of leaf. You may start to notice that your seasons are looking a little bit differently. And he says, because Erik is just saying, is this to do with like climate change and that sort of thing? But he says, this is consciousness, this is evolution. And to remember that evolution and consciousness growth is taking place in all forms of consciousness.
Interesting. Are you guys going to be able to save us from climate change? And I don't know, Erik said it's only 14% is made by humans, or 13 or 11, something like that. But can you save humanity from the worst effects of climate change?
So we've already shifted as a whole from the timelines that would have been the worst of what we had experienced or would have experienced.
Oh,
We've already shifted. He's saying that there's been 2 shifts that have taken place. And he's saying that there were, particularly in the last 2 years, before we had the virus, he's talking about Earth activity on Earth, flooding. We were heading for flooding. He says, think of the flooding and the fires. Think of earthquakes and things that were starting to take place that created a great deal of fear. He said that there was a shift in consciousness, not only with humanity, but on the earth, that started to change the level of, he's being careful in saying the word disaster, because he says that for us to remember that all of this has to do with renewal. All of this has to do with renewal of the earth and renewal of humanity. But he says it is first earth. It is first earth because earth affects the rest of the galaxy.
oh,
But he
wow.
does say there is a lot of interest, but it's not just interest in observation. What happens to earth does affect the galaxy as a whole. Everything that happens to the earth and how the earth goes forward is of great interest, because it has to do with the peace and harmony of existence throughout interdimensional galactic presence.
Well, is that true of other planets? Do other planets affect, or Earth, are you saying that Earth is special in that regard, or it's just that every planet is important for the safety and welfare and peace, etc., of the whole, all the dimensions and galaxies or whatever?
He says yes, all planets do, but it is Earth that is in its prime at this moment. So even though the third dimensional structure is the one that contains the linear form of time, but it is through this form of time that is important to Earth right now. So whereas other planets, other dimensions went through a shift in consciousness or a change in evolution, there was a time and a place, so to speak, for our linear understanding, that there was a time and a place where that was important. But it is Earth that is creating the greatest focus right now, because it is also Earth that is going through this great shift in not only consciousness with the planet, but also a shift in consciousness with humanity as well at the same time.
Well, interesting. So it's in its prime. I'm past my prime. Oh, too late for me. But okay, so Paula wanted to say, are you guys coming to Earth in these possible ways? She lists these. do you die and reincarnate into humans? Do you come in as hybrid children? Do you actually come in spaceships and kind of infiltrate them yourselves into the human life? Or do you project your consciousness to the newborn child? And if so, how?
He says all of the above. It does occur in all of those ways. It depends on what it is that we are looking to experience, or what the purpose is of what it is that we are doing. Particularly the hybrid children is of great interest, because this has to do with the evolution of humanity. And so there's a lot of projection into the bodies, into human bodies, or what we would perceive as the human body. They're also saying that projection of consciousness, sharing consciousness with human beings. I'm just asking him, does that mean such as what we're doing right now? And he says, not exactly, that there are some that are, it's not like a walk-in, it's like someone may think of it as their higher self. It's something that is in agreement with the human being, even if the human being may not have complete understanding of what it is that's happening. It's like projection. Oh, thank you. Okay. Would be projection of their consciousness into a body, but they do not host that body. They do not stay in that body. It's like they can come in and out.
Oh, I see. So, what would that person would that person notice a difference? Like if all of a sudden you started projecting your consciousness to my body, would I be able to tell any differences?
Yes, particularly most of the people that are experiencing this have an interest in this type of topic, meaning that they have a very open crown chakra, that they have, he says, metaphysical knowledge is not necessary, or even knowledge of their kind or who they are is not necessary, because they may not even consider that they are speaking to a tall white or to another being. They may think that they're speaking to an angel, or what they
Okay.
would describe as an angel. So it's like speaking to the greater part of themselves. So it may not be that description, but he's talking about the vibration of the human being. So it may not be, their beliefs are not important. It's the vibration of their existence.
All right. So it's easier to project your consciousness into a human being that has a higher vibration. Is that what you're saying? Open crown, all that stuff, but they don't even know about chakras. What do they feel?
They may feel a sense of the out of body feeling. They may feel like they're observing themselves. Um, he's saying it's like a melding. It does not hurt the human being. It's in agreement with the higher self. So this would be something that was agreed upon before the incarnation of the human being. So this is not for all humans that are on Earth, but for selective ones.
Okay.
Um, the ones that do, because there are some that would understand this, and are some that do have awareness to this. But for the ones that are not aware of this, they may notice it as a sense of euphoria, some ringing in the ears, um, some sensations, subtle, just as we would experience spiritual energy that is around us, and pushing our focus, projecting our thoughts.
Interesting. I've had a lot of people on the Atlantis Scalar in that community that are describing ringing in the ears. And can you fix it? And I'm not really sure, how to do that. I just haven't had time to. But I'm wondering if you guys out there who do have ringing in the ears, who have contacted me, maybe ask Erik the yes or no questions through the site. And is this, or is it some physiological problem? Or call into the radio show and ask. Okay, so the hybrid children, where are they, like incubated, made, etc.? I think we had a thing about that in channeling Erik. You can look up hybrid children and find out. But are they created? How are they created?
He says it's like a projection, and so they may be harvested from the human being and taken care of, he says, by us.
Yes, that's right.
Um,
Yeah.
he's calling it incubated, so it's not a child that grows within them. It would be a child or a being that is incubated. So it seems to be like he's showing me a pod,
Oh, okay.
like a small pod.
Okay.
Um, Projecting the being, the hybrid child, onto or into the earth. It is brought to some by physical through a human being. Um, the way he's describing this to me is he's giving me a visual of a human mother that is birthing a child,
Mm-hmm.
and that this child is not always, but is the hybrid being, um, but not always. Boy, this is a bit complicated. Not always the makeup of that mother, but may have a DNA or a cellular connection, if that makes sense.
Wow. And of course, the mothers probably obviously, agree with this on some higher self level. But did they ever like, okay, get out of the pod, let's drop you off the kindergarten stop. There's your bus, go. Is it like ever like that? Like they don't have to go through
Yes,
the human mother?
yes, that's correct.
Oh,
They
good
can.
Lord.
Yes.
How old are they when they're plopped down at the bus stop, so to speak, metaphorically speaking?
Common age is 3, 4.
Wait a minute. So they're just wandering around the streets hoping some parents will take them? Or how's that happen?
No, it's he's saying it's like timelines. So if we think of timelines, you could have a child that is with you at this time that is a hybrid child, that your memory would be completely intact, that you've had this child.
Oh, that is so cool. What do your neighbors think, though? Oh, that's too complicated. We could have a whole separate thing on that. All right.
He says it's
Spaceship.
all timelines. It's all
Okay.
timelines, that if we realize that our entire existence is not a linear process,
Yes,
and
I
that there is
understand.
so much in and out, we would understand.
Oh, I see. Wow, that's interesting. Spaceships, you come in spaceships. There's been this thing, people say that this giant spaceship that's kind of been observing us and it's kind of running out of batteries or something. I can't remember, but um, okay, just tell me about the spaceships you sometimes use to infiltrate.
What he's showing me is like it looks like an oval shape that's like a reflective. It looks like a reflective, like holographic material.
Okay.
He shows it shifting side to side. He's saying that not all of our visits are in something physical. He
Okay.
says that it's more uh, like a projection of shapes or geometric shapes that we would maybe glimpse and see as a solid, but is not a solid.
I see. It's just, God, that's so fascinating. Um, and of course, you project your consciousness into the newborn child sometimes. Uh, why do you do that to live as the child or to observe humanity through the child's eyes and other senses?
There's a piece of it that is that sometimes it has to do with the purpose of the child, or the purpose of, there may be an importance that has to do with the DNA of that family line, or something that it's going to occur. And so there's usually some sort of a mission that's taking place within that child. It doesn't always have to be on a granular scale, or
Yeah.
on something that we would believe as this child is going to become this great leader of a political forum, but rather this child is going to make a monumental shift in the DNA patterns that have existed in that lineage or in that family for a great period of time, which would then change the timelines of the future.
Oh, wow. You guys are so awesome. Why do you want to help us? Because Earth is so important to the galaxy. I mean, you want to go in more than that, or have you said all that needs to be said?
Well, Earth is important to the galaxy, but furthermore, there are many more of us beings that are within all dimensions, above and beyond Earth, that we crave unity, that we crave togetherness, that we have departments and teams that are parts of federations, that our goal, just as your goal is on Earth, to come together, that your goal is to end racism, that your goal is to end hurt, to end anger, to end violence, that we do carry these same goals, that we do carry this in a pattern that is universal. And so it is the understanding that for those of you on Earth, there is a shield that you come into the Earth experience, you come into the human experience, and you have the blessing of the experience, but however, creates the forgetting. And so it is part of our purpose to help remind you, of unity, because when unity is then found on the Earth, we can then help create closer unity within the galaxy.
All right, so Paula also wants to know how we could recognize you, and she tells me to say this. Erik said, and I remember this, that my newborn niece from my eldest daughter is a tall white alien, and I can tell because of her look, her pointed chin, etc. So Erik is saying she's a tall white alien because that was her latest incarnation, or because a tall white alien is projecting her consciousness into her body.
Erik says that is the incarnation.
Wow. Mm-hmm. So why has she incarnated as a tall white? I will not tell her that though.
Adrian says that she is a healer. Her project here on Earth has to do with community, not so much directly within the family line, but to do with community.
Okay.
Community, and he uses unity. Oh. He's focusing on unity.
Yeah. That's awesome. Are you trying to help bring us from this polarity consciousness where it's survival of the fittest in order to survive through competition into unity consciousness, which is all about collaboration and helping one another? Are you guys big on that?
Yes. He says this is what we would describe as the human ego, that we are not trying to erase the human ego as it has great importance, but we are to blend. We are to blend the greater part of the human being, the greater part of consciousness, the greater part of consciousness that is connected to unity. And so it is our purpose to help those on Earth be able to create unity within themselves, to therefore create unity outside of the Earth.
Okay. All right. So are you helping to heal Mother Earth, our wonderful Mother Earth, helping to heal this planet? And if so, how do you do that? Do you do that yourself? Do you nudge people in power to do the right things? I mean, are you doing it? And if so, how?
He says that Mother Earth is a powerful being. She needs no assistance in healing herself. She needs no assistance in her own evolution, but we are concerned about those on the Earth that inhabit her, to help keep humanity alive, to grow with the consciousness.
Yeah, I've heard that. Mother Earth will be fine. We'll get extinct if we do enough to the planet so that it can't support human life. But are you somehow helping that not occur? And if so, how?
Can you repeat the question one more time?
Oh, sure. Are you, Mother Earth will survive, obviously, what we do to it. but obviously there's a chance that humanity will make it not able to support human life. What is your role, if any, in preventing that from happening? And how do you do it? Do you nudge people in power to to enact laws, or do whatever to, I mean, or do you actually he help? I mean, how do you approach that?
There's always a he says there is always a chance for humanity to um, turn in a direction that would be less favorable. However, um, there are many timelines that are available that are more supportive to the healing of humanity than not. How we work with humanity, or how we work with individuals on the earth, is that we encourage them, whether that be behind the scenes in our uh, joining with a human being in providing or projecting our consciousness in our observations to identify the patterns that are occurring in their own lives, to understand that the ego, and as we spoke of the ego before, is the greatest and biggest value in being able to create love within oneself, but can also be the greatest detriment to a human being. And so we encourage that human being to be able to go within their own self, to be able to understand their own self, and to understand how their being here on earth affects not only the earth, but the other human beings on earth. And this is the focus on how they interact within relationships with nature, within relationships with each other, and the relationship within themselves.
Well, that's really big. Now, I've heard that there's some contract that's going to expire, and we're being Earth and humanity actually is being protected, and so, and then once that's over with, here comes the bad aliens to destroy us. I don't know if that's really true, but can you speak to that?
So when we think about, as an example, when we see, and we do not want to put judgment on the bad team and the good team, but for the purpose of explanation, we'll say that the bad team is holding on for dear life. And the desire for power and control comes from uh, human beings. However, there is projected consciousnesses of entities and other beings on earth that also play, or in the universe, that also play a part on earth. The disruption and dismantling of earth that is taking place is part of the evolution due to the choices that humanity has made. When we speak of a contract, and a contract being expired, this would be related to the change of what you would describe as the Aquarian age,
Oh,
as stepping into the golden age, which is an example of how we describe this new consciousness that it has already taken place on earth. Because of this, this is why we are here. This is why we are stepping forward in greater form. This is why people are having more experiences with us, why they are drawn to this information, and why they are drawn to understanding themselves and their own growth of consciousness. So, for example, when we say the bad team,
hmm.
we will say that the bad team is holding on for dear life. They're swinging their last bat. And so, therefore, it would be not impossible for them to infiltrate and create problems, because there is always adversity and there will always be polarity that will be experienced on Earth. However, in time, we will see, as generations go forward in humanity, that we are headed to a brighter, more lighter, and balanced future in all systems on Earth.
So there are alien races that have that hold nefarious motives toward humanity, but in a way we're being protected to a certain degree.
Yes.
Okay. Are there others besides you guys that are on the good team that are also helping us evolve and to protect us?
Yes, very much so.
Oh, that's awesome. Thank God we need all the help we can get. Um, you know, there's always been these great cataclysms. I can't remember. It's like every 25,500 years or whatever, when the axis of the solar system goes below the solar plane or whatever, Noah's flood and all that stuff. And apparently there's another one time where that's supposed to happen. I don't know, soon soon might mean 500 years. I don't know. Are we being protected from that? Because I understand that certain alien races don't want us to be wiped out, and we have to learn how to walk again. I mean, grow and evolve from our evolutionary dark age, and then go to the Bronze Age and the blah blah and all that they don't want to have to deal with that anymore.
We are speaking of many generations ahead, not so close in your linear time that you're speaking of right now.
Okay.
However, as we speak of timelines, because consciousness has a great deal of impact with what happens on Earth, and although Earth, she does have um, her own ways of shifting that may not always be seen as in human form as a positive experience. Humanity is not on the schedule to be wiped out.
She wants to talk about. Paula wants to know about the pandemic. Are you guys helping us figure out a way to fight this? And what do you think about the vaccines that have just come out?
We don't look at the vaccines as a cure. We don't look at the vaccines as the be all and end all. We look at it as an antidote for those that carry the vibration of fear, that are feeling that taking a vaccine, which is no different than taking a medication, which is no different than believing, which is where the power of the mind and the power of manifestation lies in what the reality and experience that takes place for every individual. We do not see the vaccine as any different than that. And so, if the resistance is taking place in a human being, that if I do not take this vaccine, then I will die, then that vaccine will prove to be beneficial. If that vaccine is part of a contract with a human being that is nearing an exit point, or their higher self has something planned to help them evolve or learn, and this is a side effect or something that is caused by the vaccine, then that will be something that will manifest for them to give them that opportunity. But we do not look at the vaccine as the be all and end all. We look at humanity as being the be all and end all.
It's like Bruce Lipton's biology of belief. Yeah. Do you guys have viruses? And if so, how do you fight them?
We do not. We have an evolution beyond viruses. He's showing me they're luminescent. Their skin is luminescent, so it's like rejuvenates.
Okay. Interesting. What do you think about humans? I mean, and humanity as a whole.
We find you interesting. We find your habits most interesting.
Like, oh, little puppies rolling around.
Eating habits.
Oh, the eating habits?
Mhm.
Yeah.
Patient.
Y'all probably don't even need to eat, do you? Are you breatharian?
Minerals.
Minerals. Okay. Wow, fascinating. Okay. I want to ask you also about what we're doing now with Atlantis Scalar. I just sometimes I think this is too good to be true, curing some of these things, but energy is energy. Everything's made of energy. Is this going to be the new way to heal people? instead of with drugs and chemotherapy and all that stuff, just manipulating energy, like optimizing nutrition by reconfiguring current stuff in their body to make what they lack. I mean, things like that. Can you tell me about what's going on now with Atlantis Scalar?
Doctor, we have been observing your work as we observe many of the new technologies that are taking place on Earth, some that are in test form. But what we would like to tell you that just as we discussed about if one believes, if one can
Ah,
create their own reality,
mm.
we would like to suggest that this is a way to get to the root problem of what has been generations of disease and generations of pain. And this is part of the movement that is to a disease-free society, to a healed society. And will this take place all at one time? No, but there are many that you will heal with this service. There are many that will receive benefit from this service. So it is real. And just as it is hard for some to understand that a being from another planet, from another galaxy, another universe is here standing before you and having this conversation, it is so real that this is occurring, and it is just as real as the work that you are doing.
Wow. Oh, okay. Somebody asked me if they could do if Eric could figure out a frequency set of script for making them into a superhuman. Is that possible? Can I fly? Turn invisible? Lift up a 18-wheeler with one finger?
As all will be evolved, your work will also be evolved.
Okay. So maybe not yet, but soon. All right. Well, I don't have. Do you have anything else to ask Michelle or Eric? This has been so wonderful. I'm so honored. I'm so grateful to you and yours, and alien races. We're aliens, but anyway, races like you who put up with us and are actually trying to help humanity as a whole. I'm so thankful. You just don't even know. I just love you so much.
And they feel quite the same. And that Eric's been saying to me to describe what I've been seeing, because it's a little distracting a couple times, because this is it's a very clear to me in my third eye what I'm seeing. And the being, so as I have seen, because I've never channeled a tall white before myself. I've watched others, and of course had other spirits or beings speak of them, Erik speak of them, but never actually had one channeled here before. And so Adrian is showing himself as, of course, he is very tall, but he is very luminescent. I would describe the way I've seen angels, very
Mm.
much of that same type of energy, but I see hands coming out,
Yeah.
and his hands are very, very, very long. They're just very long fingers. So it looks like the actual, this part of the finger and out is just extremely long, and it comes to a bit of a point. And so when I see him speaking, I can see those hands keep extending outwards. And so I can
Oh,
see the movement of the luminescent. So and he's
beautiful.
saying that that's part of the true form. And for me to be able to understand as he's speaking, he's saying that that is because we are energy. And so he's just commenting about the scalar energy. This is what we are all made up of. It
Yes.
is all energy. There
Yeah.
is nothing in this world that is not energy.
Yes.
And so that is our truth. And so he's closing with a lot of gratitude. He's thanking Erik. Um, Erik's high fiving
Oh.
Erik's hand goes like this, and it's always him.
Oh.
But just and thanking everybody for listening with such an open mind and an open heart.
Oh. Is it so weird that I feel like I'm about to cry because I love you so much, Adrian?
And
My
he
heart
says,
is swelling.
you're connected, you're connected, and so is Paula.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Oh, I love you. And thank you, Michelle, for having the courage. I didn't know we were going to bring one in.
So that was fun. That was really interesting. That was
Oh,
very good for me. That feels really good.
wow.
Yeah.
What does his eyes look like? Could you see eyes?
Actually, so he's showing me just like a facial structure, and I don't actually see eyeballs. It's almost like I see a socket,
Okay.
like empty space is what he's seeing.
Okay.
He's very bright. He's
Mm.
very bright, and just like he showed um, it's almost like that ship that he was showing me is made up of the same stuff.
Oh, I see.
It's like they're part of it somehow,
Mhm.
holographic. Very interesting.
Oh, that's so cool. Well, thank you, Adrian. Thank you, Michelle, at thehealingh-art.com. But also, we'll put the link to the series. I think there's 3 videos where Jamie Butler also channels tall whites. And oh gosh, this is so. But we did this before the Aquarian, the Age of Aquarius started. So that. All right, so thank you everybody, and go to atlantiscalar.com because Adrian says it's real. Okay, so if you want to cure
Yes.
cancer, and we're studying autism now and a bunch of other stuff. So
And it's working on me. And I'll just tell you real quick, the work you did on my parents. Okay. So
yeah,
there's weird things going on there. And the day that you did work, so I got the message yesterday, but you said you did it a couple days ago.
yeah, because
And
it failed to deliver the text.
right. But here's what's so strange about that. My parents, one of the dogs, they've got 3 dogs in their house. One of their dogs is 16 years old, and all he did was sleep, sleep, sleep. Okay. And all of a sudden, 2 days ago, this dog gets up and starts howling like a puppy, running around the house. Like, my parents were like, "What is going on with this dog?" And Erik said that the energy, that it's working. Scalar
Oh,
energy.
thank
It's
God, thank God.
crazy. And I could go on and on about all these little things that I'm
Ah,
experiencing and that. So we'll, I'm sure, do a video or something at some point and check
yeah,
in with everything that's been going on.
right. And you have a child with autism, so we could
I
do.
do. Yes.
Give me his name, and I'll put him down.
Okay. I'll text you that. That would be great.
Okay,
Okay.
I love
All
you.
right. Love you.
Bye.
Erik says, I love you, Mom.